The Realm of Nature, Part 2. So I was talking about these burls, weren't I? This is a cross section. So, like we're saying, if we expanded all different directions and stuff like, so if we create all these knots, but rather than making a branch, we just all turning up themselves and create more and more knots. So you can see like that there. And we've got like this I was showing you the other day. And it all just twists round and forms all these lumps like this kind of thing. Like, no, it's like on a bigger area. It's not like on the side of a tree, is it? It's like it's on the surface of the ground where it's coming up all the time, kind of thing. So like here, it's got a couple here. It's got these here, but when you see here, it's like got loads here. You know what I mean? All them little bits and stuff like. Obviously, got this big one here, kind of thing, like, and then this one there and stuff. Another thing to notice is all these lines, and then all them lines, how they go against each other and stuff like that. I pointed it out on that redwood bark, how it goes in between each other and overlaps and all that kind of stuff. So it's like the same thing as what we get on the redwoods, but the burling is a bit more drastic. You know what I mean? If it's, giant burling kind of thing. And so like this, for example, this is on a tree, so the surface it's on is a round cylinder area kind of thing. And it grows on outside and expands in all different directions in that way. So if it were on a flat surface, how would it act? You know what I mean? So like more like that. It's more expanded out, isn't it? So it's this is going out in every direction, 360 degrees round it, like. Whereas the other one's going up in all its directions. So everything's going up. It's a cross section of a burl. You can see how it comes out, you know what I mean, in a sense. So it's great. That's where it's splurging out in a sense and stuff like that. You see it from there, you know what I mean. It's again, see, it's like looking above and then previous rocks. Burl there, see, it's like that's like burling. You know what I mean? It's only a little bit, but it's like we don't recognise it as much because it's like basic tree. But when you get it, the big chunks of it like that's, you notice it more. You see down here, all down there as well. So it looks like it there, but it's, it's not as, is it deformed? Reformed might be a more appropriate word. It's like all patterns you get and stuff. It's something to consider, like on how the landscape is developed and what it looks like in that way. You see, a lot of the melted buildings look like this. Whereas if it's just Berlin and it's like it's it's the remains of it which has survived like the fire and stuff and the flood, and it's been petrified, then it's much more sense. You see, it's got a bit of spilly. You know what I mean? If that were all charred and black, or you know what I mean, would it look like some of the melted buildings? So then there's this, and this looks like that as well. It's like that odd, strange shape, which could, you could suggest that to be like more like burling, like, well, if you're going to call it a giant, it's very difficult to recognise as a giant. It's like, what position is it in, etc., and all that kind of stuff. But the suggestion of burling, I think it's a good idea to, like, put out there. It's quite common on trees. It might be the case for, why they've become gigantic and stuff like, with the hormone difference. This said burl on thing, but I know there's trees that grow like this as well. So just in case I'm wrong, it's been a while since I found a picture. So yeah, back onto this. So like, like in North Pole, you got your rivers going through. That one, for example. Obviously, it's a cross section of a burl, so the burling will be lifting up in all directions and stuff. But in terms of like the how the plant life reacted differently once it got to the surface, it wouldn't have had enough structure and stability to actually grow a tree and it remain upright. It's kind of like it would have taken a long time for it to learn how to actually develop a structure. Or for the sea plant life to become so dense that it can create such a structure. You can have a lot of floating plants, and some of them are quite dense, aren't they? But again, looking at North Pole in a sense, this is different in terms of, if you consider that to be all the continents, imagine it grew to that level rather than it being chopped down. Imagine it being lumpy on top, like mountain ranges and all these kind of things. And then at the water level being around there as well. Now externally, we've got all these roots which are coming out of it. It's like all coming out from the central area and stuff. In a way, this is like what's made all the like the mountain ranges and all that kind of thing. I described them to be on there, but it's kind of a model. If you're trying to get a picture of what I'm trying to suggest to where we are, when I'm describing all the roots underneath us and stuff, and they expanded throughout the area. We don't know how thick these roots were. They might be like so stable in that kind of sense that this might not be that far out from what we're trying to find out what we're living on and stuff. Again, for the North Pole, it showed like 4 continents, and trees can have an hole in them, which we've discussed, haven't we? And there can have gaps in between the hole as well. So like, it's a little bit ridiculous to imagine that they grew up. There's the next picture there, yeah. Like that's like a tree trunk, and that's a tree trunk and tree trunk. It seems a bit too far out. Whereas you've got this big mountain in the centre, which that was most likely the mother tree, the mother plant, which was actually the Mother Earth. It's kind of like imagine like these areas grew like burling in a sense, or like lichen. How lichen grows on the surface, it expands out rather than growing up. So yeah, that doesn't have to be a tree, but that would more likely be, and that would be like being the mother plant would be connected to all the other mountain ranges, and all the other continents and stuff. I saw a documentary about how the forest works. It was like a 3-part one, and it like covered the canopy in one of them, the forest floor in the other one, and then like the midsection with all the vines and branches and stuff like in the next. And it kind of like combined them all, of how it's all working as like one massive network, and it's like the complexity of it is like this. It's like a brain, they describe it to be. It's like and it was documentaries on like how trees and mushrooms function together and stuff, and how different trees help each other. Like if one tree gets ill, then it knows what nutrients to feed it through the root system. So they're like already communicating in a sense. You know what I mean? So it's like the connectivity of what nature used to be is not what it is anymore. You know what I mean? It's like with all these trees cut down and stuff like that. It's like the forest brain of what it used to be, or even heart, as like, you know, Earth is an anagram of which. And so it's like, is that even not an accident? Is that like suggesting that the the realm that we're in was so complex that it did actually have a heart? You know what I mean? In some sort of, or maybe even still does. You know what I mean? In some sort of way. I mean, not in the sense of the flesh-like heart that we have, but in some sort of answer that a plant would produce. You know, like some sort of plant alternative, but in the same function of it being a heart in a sense. I don't know. You get like a heart of a root, you know what I mean, and stuff like so. But contradictory towards all that. This is supposed to be his North Pole, so you've got like Siberia at top, America down here, Greenland with a big section missing, which is on quite a few up maps. But this is supposed to be at North Pole, so you've got a massive dip for one thing. It's like, where were the trees supposed to be? I mean, like the previous map, like where's the evidence for that to like actually exist? And it's like I've not seen anything to like prove it and stuff like Chukchi Plateau. You know what I mean? There's no Mount Meru names, I don't think, anyway. But no, no. See, we don't know what's accurate in terms of this, do we? You know what I mean? At that point, and we've got all these like fault lines where these mountains come and stuff, which is another important thing because this can help gauge what the map actually looks like. It's like one of the problems with flat Earth maps is, you know, how do you gauge the distance between countries when we're looking at the ocean and stuff? I'll skip to the next one. Like this, for example. You got all these mountain ranges, fault lines. You've got all, like, say, all cracks and stuff like that kind of thing. Now, you like consider. Let's have a look. This used to be alive. This used to be fruitious with the growth of trees upon this mountain range, which is also supposed to be like the longest mountain range in the world and all that kind of thing, despite the fact that you've got this next to it. Okay, it's a sea mountain range, so it's a little bit different, but at the same time, it's still a mountain range that we know about, you know. So yeah, with this no longer being alive, when it was alive, it used to have its roots, and its roots were part of its structure, and they were growing and building upon its structure continuously, and getting stronger and stronger. And now it's dead. It's decaying. Parts of it's are breaking up and all that kind of. Well, it has decayed apart from the petrified stuff, like. But even that petrified stuff is still falling apart and breaking up. And as it does it, all the weight of this, it wants to shift. You know what I mean? So that's where you get your earthquakes and your fault lines and all that kind of stuff. Like, and the question is, are these all volcanic mountains? Or are they naturally grown like tree kind of mountains and stuff? Look at that. Oh, massive, you know what I mean, in that kind of context. I think the implied that it's been squashed together, which has kind of created some mountains or something like that, but at the same time, it's got like a lava fault. So, this is at the bottom. This is like the lower end of the ocean and stuff, like, not as deep as the Mariana Trench, but any of the lava that came from the other mountain ranges will want to find, it's liquid, isn't it? So it's going to find the lowest level and stuff. So any other continents which are lava and all that kind of thing, and that lava burns through the root system, works its way into another root system, which is part of the same chain of mountain ranges and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually works its way down to this. So it pools, and then like the majority of this is like the remainder of the lava from the rest of the trees or whatever and stuff. Not all of them, not all are gonna make it to there. You still got some active volcanoes elsewhere from the ocean and stuff like. But when you look down there, like there's other pictures of oceanography and stuff, but you know what I mean, some of them look much more like the remainder of trees than your typical pure volcano kind of thing. So there's a lot to think about. You know what I mean? You get all different ones and stuff, like you see all like the join up. So this goes up here, this one's going along here, and that seems to like connect with Himalayas. You know what I mean, and stuff like this one's like, maybe it's not the best picture actually. Like, yeah, you got this sweeps up, and then it becomes part of the mountain range in America. That one kind of goes up there. On the previous picture, it showed you better how it kind of connects to Himalayas and stuff. That one sweeps up. There's another picture which shows it as well. Even there, you can see on South America, it looks like it's connected to that in ocean. And it's difficult to find it above. You know what I mean? I showed you that previous picture at North Pole and stuff, but not one where it connects with it all and stuff like. So a big question is, where does this fit on the AE map? Does this work? You know what I mean? Can that be adjusted to fit it? Or for the Mercator map, does it conflict with it? You know what I mean? Does it completely go against it and stuff like that? You know, like the Bering Strait argument and all these kind of things. It's something that definitely needs to be considered when we're talking about map making and stuff. You got ocean features, volcanic islands, seamounts, abyssal plains, the mid-ocean ridge, continental slope, and trenches. So the abyssal plain, thick layers of sediment formed by the sunken remains of dead organisms from the surface, cover these vast flat plains, which is quite cool. It mentions flat in there and stuff. And also, like, the thick layers of sediment formed by the sunken remains of dead organisms. You know, that's basically the remains of all the giant trees and anything else that were living. Which it goes in with what I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's like the remains of all these trees. That's what these are, in a sense. It's like a build-up of remains from the trees, like all the leaves and everything, which fell down for years and years and years before the fire and stuff. Maybe that first layer is from the first, you know, before the fire, and then the second layer is from the waste from the fire and stuff like. Maybe not. You know what I mean? But rather than suggesting that this is like a tree trunk, you know what I mean? Because it can be a bit much, can't it? You know what I mean? It's like you can see these more potentially being tree-like, but obviously when you can have a mountain formed purely from lava. You know what I mean? If we're going to have a pocket of lava which is going to come up and find a weak spot, it's going to plume out and it's going to churn up loads of dirt and crap with it and stuff like. But you've got to look at the rock though. Well, like when we say about like Yosemite, that's like big boulderous rock which has got loads of quartz in it. I can't see any volcanic activity there at all. You know what I mean? It'd be all glass-like. It's completely different to what it's showing you. Well, not all glass-like. You know what I mean? But the quartz area would be. But you have like volcanic areas and stuff like, and it's all, you know, churned up with loads of different stuff like amongst volcanic rock, which is kind of glass-like in a way. Kind of, you know what I mean? It's different. This is Berlin again for its texture at the sides and stuff like. Another thing I wanted to look at is lichen, like I mentioned earlier. The potential for like giant lichen. I see these shapes. This is, well, ignore the circular shapes. Go out to this yellow one and see how it expands and it goes out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? You've got these expanded areas. I mean, maybe it did grow up. Maybe this is just part of the base of bigger trees in a sense. It's so strange for them all to be cut at such a level, though. You know what I mean? Like when you look at Yosemite, you've got like loads of trees that look like it come off this area. So this will be like the base, and the base was just about as high as this, and then it will filled with trees and stuff like. I can't tell. It must be blurry. Look out. It's got that edge in it. It's still uh, too blurry at this angle and stuff like. But again, if the plant organism grew on the surface, more like how bark grows on the surface of a tree, you know what I mean? It's still part of a plant in it, and it's just a different way of it growing. So it's like growing like a skin, you know what I mean? So rather than growing up, it grew outwards, and it's created all these valleys and such like, very much like the mountain ranges we get in a way. It's like a bulk area, and then you'll get a river and stuff like. Sometimes you got a mountain ridge and stuff, but it depends on mountain and stuff. Different textures and all that kind of thing. Obviously, lichen rather than bark, but that's a more Berlin, but a cross section, and it's, you know, it's a very different shape from what you usually expect, kind of thing. Like, you have to show that you do get rid of, you know, it can be any shape as such. You know how exotic it is. You know, if they were giant and stuff like what kind of a landscape it'd be, and the potential, because it's quite light, isn't it? It's lichen. I think anyway. I've never held a really big piece to judge it in the same way, but um, that might have been a lot to do with how it grew on surface to begin with. There's a lot to consider, like how the process went on and how it will have happened, how it formed, and then, you know, it's what it is today, kind of thing. Like canyons, kind of thing, like. And then you got this expanding growth, kind of thing, everywhere, really. And lines are interesting. How it's broke up. And again, your lichen, and then the bark as well. It's all worth looking at in a sense. So when you get your mountain ranges, you see how they're all like connected. And very like lichen or what we're saying with bark and stuff like that. So it's like this is how the river's formed. Because this grew, rather than it worked through this, it was just an easier path to go past because this is in the way. You know what I mean? That's why this is hard rock and you've not got hard rock going between in a sense. Obviously rocks fall down, but it's not like a big massive piece kind of thing coming across. Well, I mean, it can go any direction it wants to, but you look at the path of the water and stuff, and it's gone round what that is. It's all so similar, but at the same time, it's still an ash wasteland. It's not what it used to be. You will have had like loads of treetops and all this and stuff. Like it will have looked like an absolute complete jungle. You know what I mean? It would have been an awesome sight. You know what I mean? Especially to like walk through it and be amongst the abundance of wildlife that potentially were, because so much must be extinct now. You know what I mean? I mean, look at how many different plants are extinct in terms of giant plants and stuff like. So, you know, the smaller plants would be much more difficult for us to find now, and life forms and stuff like. So, you know, trying to create a picture of what it used to be like is quite awesome in that sense. Like, where did I have a picture go? Yeah. So a lot of it's like that in a sense, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's supposed to be a volcano, is that? But was it? You know what I mean? Was it a tree which is burnt down, and then you got your volcanic islands in the middle and stuff? But is that a good representation of what the entire plane is in a way? In a way, it's just that a lot of these volcanoes were also giant trees before they became volcanoes. Yeah, otherwise it's like we've got to explain where lava came from, and it's like what is lava, and you know, I mean, it's like everything else I think can be explained if we're going the narrative of the giant trees and stuff, including lava. You know, and also there's a lot of information which I'm throwing out. I know there's a lot of things which are speculative, and there's a lot of things which I'm like maybe that I believe that I'm certain about, and all these kind of stuff like. But yeah, re-question things and stuff like that. Because obviously, a lot of things I could be, you know, we're not always right about everything, are we? Oops. Uh, so Yosemite from above. Now you see this, we're seeing them same patterns, but this time it's like inverted. See it the wrong way, kind of thing. You see this white rock, this white blob. That's one of rocks, and then you got your shadow down there, and this is your canyon valley, and then there rocks on the side at canyon. So then all your rocks come up like that, and you zoom up. So it's not a mountain ridge; it's a valley. Your mountain ridges are more of a it's this block area of like loads of lumps and all that kind of thing. And then you zoom in and you can see like all your where your trees would be and stuff kind of thing. like that, for example. You can see there's several stumps there, you know what I mean? So all this would have been full of stumps, you know what I mean? You got that big one there, you got, I don't know, I think it's like scattered with loads of them and stuff like. But that's what it looks like from this angle, you know? I see water and worn it away, you know what I mean, to create this pathway or all like that. It's just the shape of the trees. So yeah, the complexity of a plant, the complexity of Mother Earth, like our Mother Earth, that's our mother because it's where we come from. You know what I mean? It's like when you think about the complexity of things, and what potential that is. You know, if a plant can feel, if a plant can respond to things and stuff like that, then there's a big connection there to like the psychic element of the plant. You know what I mean? Like the suggestion of like the hive mind and all these kind of things. And so that's where it leads me to believe about this being the realm of nature, and that we have a connection to the Mother Earth and stuff. You know, like a psychically, you know what I mean, connection with all living things, which I'm going to be going to more in the next video and stuff. So thanks for watching and keeping up. Nice one, cheers.